Living and Universe.
Hello, everybody.
So, welcome to our spiritual home. And what a wonderful fall morning we have going on
It's
out there today.
beautiful. Gorgeous.
So, just thankful for this center and the loving warmth that we get here. So, we're going to start our service with a song called This Is the Day. If you could please rise and join with the singing to bring the spirit up, we'd really appreciate it. Ready?
Yep.
Everybody rised up?
This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day. Sorry, I gotta get my key here. A day I can feel my spirit set free. Yes, this is the day. It's time to fly higher and high up in the sky. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day all my dreams come true. Can feel the Spirit working its way through. Yes, this is the day. It's time to fly higher and high up in the sky. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it.
All right, good morning. Welcome to West Valley Center for Spiritual Living. My name is Reverend Clyde Goings. I'm the assistant minister here, and I want to welcome you here on this beautiful Sunday morning. So welcome, welcome. So some announcements before we get started. The first one is that the rummage sale is going on right now, and it is going to be half priced after service. So please go in there and see. They've done an incredible job of setting that job. Is your arm sore, Kathy? Oh, okay. You're welcome. I thought your arm got stiff or something. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. I made them chili yesterday in tomato soup. So somebody brought in German potato salad for you guys for today to heat up and eat some German potato salad. So, all right. So some other announcements. I want to remind everybody that Thanksgiving is this week, right? So happy Thanksgiving first. And then, so anybody that wants to come here to the center on Thanksgiving Day, Kathy Rose and Phil will be hosting Thanksgiving dinner here. The doors open up at 12. The plan is to eat at 3 o'clock, so everybody is welcome. So please join us here if you'd like to come here for Thanksgiving. And let her know, yes. If you want to bring a side dish, you can bring a side dish to share. And then we changed the date for the Christmas decorating the center. So we're not going to do it next weekend. We're actually going to postpone it for another week, which will be December the 7th. So we're going to be doing it December the 7th around 9 a.m. So if you're available on December the 7th at 9 a.m., to show up and help us decorate this place and get it all fixed up and ready for the holidays. So that's our announcements today. So now what I want to talk about is our Seeding the Future Pledge Program. So this is our fourth and final week of our Pledge Program. Our theme this year is Life is Sweet and Let It Rise. And so for the month of November is when we do our pledge program every year, and this is the once a year we ask formally for your financial support. And I want to show you our giving tree here and all of the pot holders that have been placed on the giving tree, which it looks fantastic. Reverend Karen and I were talking about it this week, and we've decided that we're going to probably throw some Christmas stuff on there and leave it up all through Christmas because we love the tree so much, and so we're going to leave it up. So one, we can remind us of we're expanding our abundance consciousness as well as anchoring us as we move into 2025. So our theme again is life is sweet, let it rise. And so we're focused on the recipe for success this year. So we first started out with trying to figure out what do we want to experience, what do we want to taste, what's something delicious that we want to eat. Then we have to pick that right recipe. We have to pick the right ingredients for that recipe, and then we have to follow the instructions on how to make that recipe, right? And then after we follow the instructions on how to make the recipe and also measuring everything correctly, right? Then we get to experience something delicious, just like Kathy got to experience some delicious chili yesterday, right? So today we have a gift. Not Judy, John and Robert come forward. So again, our theme is experiencing something delicious. So we're actually go ahead and give them out. So we're actually giving out Mark's pumpkin chocolate chip cookies, and if you want more than one, you can have a couple.
So everybody can love you up.
Yes. Mark baked these cookies, so he followed the recipe, and here's the cookies that you guys get to eat. But here's the deal: don't open them, Kathy. Kathy, don't open your cookie. Judy, don't open your cookie. So we don't want to. We're going to save the cookies until after service because I don't want to get in trouble from my boss eating cookies in here. Okay, so don't eat your cookies. We'll save them until after service. All right, so, and again, if you want more than one cookie, we've got plenty of them, so please take a couple of them if you'd like. All right, so again, we're focusing on our recipe for success, and that we know that our recipe at our center for success is based on our faith and our practice. So as we apply spiritual, what's happening?
They're so excited. They got a sugar high already.
Okay. All right. All right. Thank you, Robert. I think everybody's set. So our recipe for success for our Center for Spiritual Living is based on faith and practice. So as we apply spiritual principles to our life, we stay in the flow of life. Our spiritual journey through life is experiencing the sweetness of life, and there's infinite possibilities to experience and express life. So last week, Robert shared with us his story about stepping into the flow of life. And Reverend Sue was inspired by Robert's beautiful story. And so Reverend Sue wanted to share her story. So she's going through a lot of changes right now in her life, becoming a minister. She's moving into retirement. And so she wanted to share her story as she's navigating through all of this and applying the principles to her life as she stays in the flow of life. So, Reverend Sue.
Thank you. So yes, thank you, Robert. You did inspire me last week. It made me want to share with you some of the process that I'm going through and some of the things that this experience of life, but also my time in this program with Seeding the Future has given me an opportunity to really stop and look at some things that I believe. So yes, I'm about to retire in February. I will be officially retired from my job, which means my salary will be notably less, we'll say. And so I've met with Reverend Karen over a long time about dealing with all the changes going on. My husband's health continues to deteriorate, all kinds of things. So it's just one change after another. And I said, I'm really in a dilemma about what to do with my commitment card, with my commitment this year. because I know that my salary could be cut as potentially as big as half. And so I don't know I don't know what to do. And here was my dilemma. I believe in tithing. I have done so for years. I have seen Edwin Gaines that Robert talked about many times. I started out with Terry Cole Whitaker and Robert Schuller, both of whom were positive, they were televangelists about positivity and abundance. So it's just in my fiber of my being to give. And I know that the law works. What you give, you get back. And so I began to really look at all of my beliefs and attitudes about abundance. And where does my good come from? And if I had a nickel for every time I've said, my good comes to me through sources known and unknown, I wouldn't need to be having this conversation with you because I would have a lot of money. Coming out my ears. So I really began to look and say, I need to find that balance between knowing that God is my source, that it comes to me through sources known and unknown. It is not only my paycheck, my whatever other investments or whatever I might have, that I have to be open to the flow. Do I believe that or not? And this is really a rubber hits the road kind of a time in my life. And the other is then the balanced with, I have to be responsible. I also can't have pie in the sky living that says, woohoo, I can just keep doing whatever I want and God will provide. So it's been an interesting journey for me, and it's important to know for me as I've gone through this process of looking at what to give and what really do I believe about abundance and what really do I believe about giving and receiving, and do I really believe its sources known and unknown? And so it's been an interesting journey that has allowed me to stop and really look. And the bottom line is I really do believe in the law of circulation. I really do believe that what you give, you get back. I really do believe in sources known and unknown. And I have an equal belief in stewardship. So yes, there is a slight decrease in my commitment card this year, but I'd spent a long time looking at more than anything, two things. What do I believe about abundance? And then where am I spiritually fed? Because in my first conversation with Reverend Karen, I said, this is my spiritual home. This is where I'm spiritually fed. And for me, giving is about giving where you're fed. And so I can't imagine giving less because I'm not going to get spiritually fed less. So in this process, if you have not already made a commitment, I encourage you to stop and look at those things and say, what do I believe? What do I really believe? And allow yourself to respond in kind. So thank you all for allowing me to kind of struggle through all this whole process because you all have been with me through ministerial school, through everything else. You're kind of being with me as I go through this sort of Mr. Toad's wild ride toward retirement. And I'm grateful to you all. So thank you for being my spiritual home.
And she's putting her pot holder on the tree. Thank you, Sue, Reverend Sue. All right, so thank you. So your yearly financial pledge is Seeding Our Future for Our Spiritual Home. And so we ask for your continued support by completing a pledge card. So if you're online, you can mail your card in, or you can also go to the website, WVCSL, and you can click on Contact Us, and you can fill out your pledge information online, and then we'll receive that information as well. So our goal this year is to collect 35 pledge cards with the total pledge amount of $75,000 or more. So we ask for your pledge amount once a year so we can budget and plan for 2025. So we're good stewards of your contributions, and our spiritual home's recipe for success is your financial support. Create a container for us to learn, to grow, and deepen our connection with God. So our theme this year is Life is Sweet, Let It Rise. And so we're focusing on the recipe for success. And our spiritual practice is how we learn and apply spiritual principles to our lives. And we know that life can only do for us what life can do through us. So a couple weeks ago when we first started, we gave out the book, the Abundance book with John Randolph Price, and we're going to be doing a 40-day spiritual practice starting the second Monday in January. And it's for 40 straight days. After service today, I'm going to have a quick introduction to it to kind of explain what the process, what we'll be doing and things like that. So if you have time after service, just stay right after service, and we'll go over that. And I will share with you what we're going to be doing for those 40 days. So we're collecting pledge cards through the end of the year, and so we have extra pledge cards on Home's base if you forget to bring your card in. So you can bring your card in, you can mail it in, you can drop it off in the contribution boxes, or you can give it to myself or Reverend Karen. When you fill out the pledge card, there's a box on there for auto tithing, and so if you want to set that up, just we check that box, and I'll work with you and help you get that set up. And I also want to let you know at any time, if you need to adjust your pledge amount up or down throughout the year, you just need to let me know and I'll work with you, and that's not a problem at all. So we are really excited. The other thing is that we're really excited to announce, Reverend Karen told me this week that we actually received three pledge cards now from online people that have been watching us online that they've submitted their pledge cards. So that was very exciting. So they never come in the sanctuary, and one of them is from out of state. So very, very excited. So thank you, the online people. So when you turn in your pledge card, reminder that we're going to put the pot holder on our beautiful giving tree so you can see all the incredible pot holders we have on there, and we're going to continue to add to them all through until the end of the year. So again, our goal is 35 pledge cards, and with a total amount of $75,000 or more. So please pray with me for the abundance of our spiritual home. So I want to close with a quote from Marianne Williamson, and she's the Unity Church spiritual leader, and this is what she says about sweetness of life. As we become pure channels for God's light, we develop an appetite for the sweetness that is possible in the world. A miracle worker is not geared towards fighting the world that is, but creating the world that could be. And so it is. All right, so that is our pledge program for 2025. Thank you guys for joining and participating and having all this fun that Reverend Karen and I have been having. So now is the time to settle into our wonderful, beautiful service. So we're going to start off by reading our vision statement. So let's read the vision statement together. We are a loving, joy-filled community, honoring the many paths to God as we learn and live the science of mind principles. And so it is. So just sit back, relax, allow the chair to support you as life supports you, and open your hearts and minds for the Bradford's beautiful music and Reverend Karen's wonderful message. Thank you.
So just take a deep breath, relax as we move within.
I will make a quiet place within my heart, and I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord.
Be still, my soul, be still. Be still, my soul, be still. Be still and know.
make a quiet place within my mind. I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord.
Be still, my soul, be still. Be still, my soul, be still. Be still, and know
I will make a quiet place within my life.
and I will wait upon the Lord. Wait upon the Lord.
I will make a quiet place.
So, here in this quiet place, where the still small voice within is clearly and easily heard, I know that there is one mind, one heart, one soul, one activity of spirit that lives and moves and has its being in, through, and as me, in, through, and as everyone, everywhere. It is at the core of everything. It is the source of it all. It is peace and joy, love, happiness, abundance, wealth, harmony, wisdom, clarity, kindness, compassion, kinship, and so, so much more. And I know that that activity of spirit is the activity and the power and the presence that is in charge here in this day. I know that Reverend Karen's message is divinely inspired, that her heart is wide open, and she allows that extraordinary presence of the divine that lives in her and comes to and through her to speak beautifully to us, giving each of us a specific piece that's just ours to hear and to know, and that everything else stays with us and comes up at the perfect time in our life. I know that the Bradford's music lift us and open our hearts and allow our spirits to simply soar with the joy and beauty that comes with music. I know that as we go forward here today, that this service is a perfect idea in the mind of God. Therefore, it is already done. So I release this out into the synchronicity that is both love and law. And together we say, and so it is. So my reading today is from an Ernest Holmes book called A New Design for Living, and it is really a delightful, delightful book. And this is from the section of The Abundant Universe. He says, all this calls for a deep and abiding trust, a complete conviction, and an equally great patience with oneself. For after all, we are human beings, subject to surprise and disappointment, to over-optimism and sometimes depression. But through it all, if we maintain calm and persistent attitudes of gentle affirmation, the very pressure of this affirmation will gradually dissipate and reverse the negative thoughts and will redirect our lives, will so remold and recreate all the conditions and experiences surrounding us that finally we see the complete conviction that we are on the right track. We are on the right track when we know that our abundance does not depend on the things or people about us. Abundance is our experience, resolves itself down to the simple basic fact that it is a matter of what we think our relationship to God is, and the persistent pattern of thinking we establish for ourselves. The important thing right now is to know that we are headed in the right direction. Our thoughts are a little more constructive and expectant of good than they were yesterday. Can we see that life unfolds with more abundance for us than we had previously accepted? Can we accept that more that is available to us? Are we able to maintain even a slightly more affirmative attitude than we've previously had? If we're doing this progressively, we are certainly to have an increasingly fuller experience of the limitless abundance of good that is ever available to us. Then he has this beautiful little prayer. The universe holds an abundance of all good things. What it may become to us is determined by what we think it is. We must let our thoughts encompass more and more of what we want, and at the same time, become more of what we really are. Increased abundance of every good thing is always the greater possibility and becomes an actuality only as we accept it. And then one last little prayer at the end that I probably read once a week. The great adventure lies ahead of you. Discover within yourself the divine spark which may be fanned into a glowing flame, giving you warmth and security. The light from it can certainly and surely guide you to the greatest experience anyone can have, the experience of the presence of God, to whom and through whose law all things are possible. May you go with God. So it is.
So I'm going to sing my favorite hymn today, and it was written by Folliot S. Pierpont in 1864. And we have a wonderful video to go along with it. For the beauty of the earth, for the glory of the skies, for the love which from our birth over and around us lies, Lord of all, to thee we raise this our hymn of grateful praise. For the wonder of each hour of the day and of the night, hill and vale and tree and flower, sun and moon and stars of light, Lord of all, to thee we raise this our hymn of grateful praise. For the joy of human love, brother, sister, parent, child, friends on earth and friends above, for all gentle thoughts and mild, Lord of all, to thee we raise this our hymn of grateful praise.
Oh, you are right. That was fabulous. Thanks for nudging me to sit somewhere where I could watch. That was beautiful. Did you put that together? Did you do the slide? Oh, yeah, it went really beautifully with this song. Good morning. Welcome to the West Valley Center for Spiritual Living. It's Thanksgiving week, isn't it? It is. It is. Now, some people thought it was last week, and some people had a last-minute urge to fly to Texas and see her grandchildren and her great-grandbabies and got online and booked a ticket. She thought at the last minute, and then Reverend informed me that Thanksgiving wasn't last week. It was this week. I had purchased a ticket and a hotel room on the wrong week. You'll be happy to know I got all my money back, and I said, well, I'm saving the tickets so I can go visit those great-grandbabies. We have twins, you know. The youngest of the great-grands are twins in Austin, Texas, and those twins are, I'm going to guess, about 4 or 5 months old by now. And whew, what a busy life that makes for. I've got some info I didn't used to have about raising a couple of babies at the same time. So we are wrapping up our stewardship month. We are closing out this idea of being good stewards and seeding our future for the upcoming year 2025, which means the board, Reverend Clyde and I have already been sitting down working on the budget, and we're just about to put it to bed. We're going to leave the door open to receive your cards, to get your input, so we can keep adding potholders to the tree. Doesn't it, she look pretty? I love this tree. I love this idea. I don't think I've enjoyed stewardship more in all the years I've been here, except maybe that year. Remember that year we did the circus, Clyde? We did a whole circus. This looked like a circus tent up here. We went crazy. Oh my goodness, it was quite exciting, and that was kind of fun. And we always do something special and something where we can feel we're involved and we can see how as a community we're progressing. And but this, I have to say, has been my most favorite. Maybe, Reverend Clyde, we should quit being creative and just do this every year, because I had fun. Plus, we got sweets on the last day. I'm sorry, you guys at home. I'm sorry, there's no sweets for you. We had to be in here in person. But we've had a very good time. The title of my message this morning is The Gift of the Bounty. And so as we've been looking at this idea of life is sweet, let it rise, Reverend Clyde and I had these visions and all this creative energy around talking about cooking and baking and recipes and measuring and how that applies to ways in which we can create our own sweet life. And the potholders on the tree are beautiful indications of the symbols of commitment that we hold as a committee, both in the people that attend and live locally, and the way that post-lockdown we have expanded our audience, because we didn't have any of this before lockdown. We didn't have a screen, we didn't have videos, we didn't have archived tapes or recordings you could listen to or watch. It was all on, me and Kay were doing some cleaning last week, and we just threw out a giant box of old cassettes of me talking these messages for 14 years. We just threw them all away because who wants cassettes anymore? So it's lovely that we can now have this new technology where things can be archived in a different way, where we don't have to have a closet or a cupboard where we're keeping things, but it is an indication of the many gifts of the journey, the bounty in spiritual terms. When we talk about the gift of the bounty, we're referring to the way that God's generosity is bestowed upon us. I love that image of the grace of God constantly streaming in this universe, keeping the plants and the animals and the humans in this certain order where we can all live together and we benefit from each other, even when life doesn't feel very sweet, which has been an interesting month, hasn't it? Where we're all sort of acclimating to, we're learning how to talk to each other in new ways and respecting that we do have differences of opinions. So it's been really satisfying this November. I'm so grateful for your participation. We started with the book, the free book, and by the way, these are gifts from Reverend Clyde himself, and then Mark did all the baking, and so we started with the gift and we ended with the gift, and it just finalizes this sweetness of the whole campaign. Today we're looking. I am cutting out, right? You want me to grab the mic? Okay. Just enough to be distracting, huh? Okay, let me hit the button back here. Oh, it's at the top. Ready. Are you ready, sound booth? Okay. Hey, could we have that music again? Just not really. Just kidding. Just kidding. But I do love to go from that mic to this mic because you just notice my voice lowers naturally. I just feel a little more cool. At any rate, thank you for that. I appreciate you because I was noticing it was not sounding perfect. So the idea of God's bounty, the gift of the bounty, is about a reward. It's about the spiritual gift that is ours simply for noticing and appreciating it. And there's this great quote I've been waiting all month. I tried really hard not to share this quote earlier in the month because I was saving it for the last day. But Thomas Merton, the Trappist monk, whom I adore, I have many Merton books. Thomas Merton took a scripture from the book of Psalms, the 34th Psalm, and he changed it a little bit. He says, "Taste and see that the Lord is sweet." Taste and see that the Lord is sweet. Try God. Have that moment of experimenting with what's possible in your own life. So in the original context of that scripture from Psalm, the 34th chapter in the 8th verse, it says, "Taste and see that the Lord is good." And the invitation here is for us to try it out, to open ourselves to have an experience of it, of God, of that spiritual relevance in the way that we live our lives. And so when we taste something, when we open ourselves to an experience of it, there's something that feels natural to me, and it's about savoring. Really just savoring the goodness of it. When we savor the goodness of life and we savor and pay attention to the sweetness of God and having a spiritual relationship with the creator of the universe, what we know is that it does something to us. It renews our own faith. It renews the way we're thinking in our mind, and it creates a sense of pleasure where we can recognize how wonderful life actually is. And in that way, we have a deeper appreciation. And so you can see that we're moving into gratitude again, that always in connection with this great and generous flow of life, the very idea that we would have a giving tree, it brings us all to that same area where we're recognizing there's power in taking time to be thankful. And this is a month of thankfulness, isn't it? I got this thing about me. I got a little passion, so when I savor something, it's usually audibly recognized. Apparently, now you don't know this if you're the person doing it, but apparently not everybody makes the yummy noise while they're eating. And for me, it's just an instinct that I have. And I think it is a reflection of the passion and enthusiasm that I generally have for life. Not every day. I'm human too. But yeah, I had a boss that hated to take us. He used to take us all out for lunch on our birthday until he figured out he didn't enjoy eating with me because I'm always going, this is so good. And I think it must have embarrassed him or something because he always teased me about it. And eventually he quit inviting us to lunch. I think it was all my fault. But in the midst of a yummy experience in life, I cannot control myself. I also do that in prayer. If somebody else is praying and they hit a peak of a combination of words that touches me, I will make these noises, and I can't help it. It's very much like eating delicious food to me. The same thing will happen when I'm having my morning study, and I'm especially drawn to poetry or just combinations of words that are inspiring and pretty in the way they're put together. And gosh, sometimes I just have to pause and repeat those words to myself while I feel the pleasure of recognizing the beauty, because what you're recognizing is the godness. right? It's a divine recognition. There's something really beautiful about the deliciousness of words put together and prayers that are just, I just love eating that up. I'm teaching Prac 2. I'm teaching a class, a 2-year class, and we're halfway through our first year. And the women in that class happen to be gifted writers, and I'm having such a good time reading their homework because their prayers are just exquisitely written and such a pleasure to my life. I believe that life should be savored whenever possible. Kids seem to know that. You ever notice children really know how to have a good time? When a child is excited about something wonderful in life, there's a sound of glee that granted can be ear-piercing and not fun after a while, but they get so excited. Right? I was in the grocery store this week because I ain't going next week. I telling you, I ain't going to the store next week. I've lived a couple of years. I know I don't want to be in the market next week. So I was picking up a few groceries last week, and there was a lady with 2 small children, and they were both in the cart. One was in the basket part, and one was in the baby seat. And they were really excited about life, and they were going, ooh, ah, and squealing with joy, and the mother kept shushing them. And all I could think of was, now that I don't ever have kids in grocery carts with me, all I could think of is, oh, please don't shush them. You know, their glee, their joy, their enthusiasm for life, we need that. Can we, get in a zone? Not next week for sure. I'm not going to the store. I already said that, right? Can we get in a place where we can see that undefended, unbridled enthusiasm for life? Because, that's why they say kids are closer to God than we are. We change things. I don't like kids so much when they're on a sugar high. Halloween is such a silly holiday. I always feel bad for the elementary school teachers who have to deal with the kids the night after trick-or-treating, and they're running on all that sugar. I see all the teachers in here are nodding. That's why God gave us bouncy houses and trampolines, so those children could work all that stuff off. Because you know what? Have you been an adult and tried to bounce on a trampoline? I have enough grandkids that I have bounced on a trampoline quite often as an adult. It's a lot of work. It really is extremely good exercise. It takes a lot of energy to keep yourself bouncing on a trampoline. But I digress. I recognize that children have that unbridled joy, and they show us, and maybe we could even think of a sugar high as something we might relate to in terms of our spiritual work. What if we aimed to have a God high? See, I get a God high. When I tell you that I get excited when I'm praying and reading and having these private moments of oneness with Spirit, what I know is that is what I would call a God high in my own experience. I love the rush. I like to get high on the Holy Spirit, you might say. And it has to do with the way I can sense. I'm certain it's a connection, but I don't always feel it or interpret it like a connection. It feels more to me like a rush of energy. Sometimes I refer to it as a quickening. I can often feel that here, and that when I'm doing the healing prayer at the end of my message, there's some kind of an internal quickening that I feel, and the delight of it is definitely sweet. The reason we have those moments, you can't actually plan them, but we can intend them. we can expect them. And I like to start my day out in sort of that frame of mind where I know that I'm going to have an encounter with Spirit in some way in that day. And what I notice is that there is a biological shift in an internal way in my body, which is, I think, where we get that word quickening from. There's something inside that it's a little kind of inner transformation at an energetic level. And it has to do with becoming aware of the presence of God right where you are. And that's the entire message of every spiritual tradition, that there is a presence of God, or Spirit, or whatever you call it, and it is a presence for good, and it is greater than we are, and we can use it, we can tap into it, we can align to it, we can see and sense that there's an order, a perfect order in the universe that we can get in the groove of. And so those biological senses of oneness with God happen, when I'm praying, I notice it. I can be journaling, and I'll have how you get an aha moment, a thought. I'll be writing, and sometimes I'm trying to write so fast in my journal in the morning that I'll be finishing a thought, and I'll start another line. This just happened to me recently where I wrote, and the very best part is, and suddenly I'm blank. It's like, suddenly it's over, whatever that inspiration was, and I can't remember what it was that I was going to write, and it's so frustrating because it always goes, and the most important part is, boom, gone. Shoosh, out of my range. The vibration shifts, and I'm back in being my human self. But there are those moments of awakening or opening. The way our consciousness, I think it's like our consciousness stretches a little wider, a little more open, so that we're more open to receive. And that's that movement of the divine energy. So when we awaken to these deeper truths and we begin to have those experiences, what all church should be about. It should be a little nudge for us to be open to having those encounters. But when we get there, what happens is what I used to call goosebumps or woolly bumps. Now I call them God bumps. Now I recognize there's something divine going on when that happens. What used to be a coincidence is now a divine appointment, or it's a divine synchronicity. We are in that space of having like a sliver of truth just rush through our being, and it creates a new state of mind. It gives us a different posture, or a view, a higher view, a different way of seeing all things. And it's a different way of then living. And it's a new way of just being. And I like to say, those are the moments we are oneing with life. O-N-E. You have to write a dash in it if you're typing it, or spell check will go, no, you're silly. That's not a word. It is a word. I made it up. I have a little authority. When you are oneing, that is the moment you are oneing with the infinite. Here's how Dr. Holmes said it. Dr. Holmes is the founder of this teaching, and he said, the universe is one vast system. All the laws of nature conspire to benefit humankind. One vast system, and all the laws of nature conspire to benefit us. Everything is connected to everything else. It's like, I was thinking about how sometimes I'll find an image or a photograph that I'd like to print. It looks like a really good photo. And then you go and you try and, how do you call it when you cut the edges off? You crop it, right? And then you try and enlarge it. But depending on how many, is it pixels? How many pixels, what temperature you set your camera on. I love when Julie's not here because Kendra is really good to have in the front row. You see, this is exactly what I was talking about. Resolution. There you go. There you go. So the camera resolution. Quit laughing. You're making me laugh. But if I try and print a picture that was not done with a good resolution, then it looks pixeled when you print it. You can see little dots on it. But then when I thought of that, I thought about that. There's an artist, and I believe at one time I saw one of his paintings in the Phoenix Art Museum. So I don't know if it was on loan or it's there all the time, but it's that artist from the 1800s, George Seurat. Thank you. Thank you. I love it when people have a little French understanding of the French language. And so he was a French impressionist, actually a little post-impressionistic artist. But here's what's really cool about his work. And you've probably heard of it. Even if you don't know his name, you may have heard about his work. Everything is dots. Everything is dots. So there's this great painting that he's very famous for with people on, I believe it's a beach, and the women are all, it's 1800s, they're holding parasols and they're wearing long skirts, and it's a picnic or a beach or something. And it's very attractive from a distance, but when you get up really close to it, you can see that it's nothing but dots. Mark, is this exciting? Mark does dot art. I don't know what Mark does. Something magnificent with dots, but not like George. Yet, well, if he wants to, he can do whatever. He's already proved he can do just about anything he wants. He got Clyde, didn't he? There's something there. So. So there's that way that dots, if you get up close to one of those paintings, because I did right here in Phoenix, and I got up really close to it, and there are hundreds of thousands of dots that come together and make a beautiful painting. See, that's how we are. You know, they say that the atoms, the cells in our body and all the atoms have space around it, that there's space, that we're more space than we are substance. But you know what's in that space? That which looks like nothingness? It is the very glue that holds the entire universe together. It is that God stuff. And it is an energy. It is an energetic way that we vibrate, so that when we come together, we make pictures. When we do something like this, we make something beautiful that represents a commitment to us. There is a symbolic meaning in this giving tree. And so I love that. I love that way that we are all connected with that invisible energy, and we make something beautiful when we bring all of our colors and our differences and our points of view. Because what we share in common, when you look at the potholders on the tree, what we share in common is a love of this community and a desire for this spiritual community to be here in the future. And so every potholder on that tree is a symbol of belonging. Imagine that people that never even step in this room have their commitment hanging on that tree because they believe in us, that they want us to have a future. We're so grateful. And I love to think that it's some kind of energy that we can't see that calls us together, that holds us together, that keeps us in this way that we are connected and are invited to have a sense of belonging. I love feeling like I belong here. Margaret Wheatley, who is a wonderful spiritual leader and has written some fabulous books. Margaret Wheatley said, when we seek connection, hang on. When we seek connection, we restore the world to its wholeness. When we seek connection, we're seeking, there's an urge within us that we don't even understand. So we understand it when we feel lonely or when we feel bored or separated. But there's something in us that wants to have that sense of connection. We're wired for it. And she says, we restore the world to its wholeness when we seek it. Our seemingly separate lives become meaningful as we discover how truly necessary we are to one another. It's very true. So yeah, I encourage people to get a little high on spirituality, and why not? It's good for your body, it's good for your mind, it's good for your soul, it's good for community, it's good for all your relationships. And the reason it's good is because when we're like that, we're vibrating at a higher level. You know, from love, that is the highest vibration. And the hate and the discord that we've witnessed and seen and maybe even felt, those are moments of complete separation from love. And I ain't let nothing get between me and love for very long. As soon as I notice discord in my life, I'm going to look for that path back to love. I want to return to love as quickly as possible. Last Sunday, Reverend Clyde came in and he said, boy, I am really revved up today. Remember last Sunday we were all up here talking before the meeting. And I teased him about having too much to have a second cup of coffee this morning. Maybe you don't need that much caffeine. And he said, no. He said, I'm revved up because I listened to my power song on the way in. And I listened to it again and again. And now I'm really revved up because that power song does something to me. So I've been thinking about it. Like, do you have a power song? We all need a power song. I love to clean my house to the Gypsy Kings. I put on the Gypsy Kings. I got a CD of the Gypsy. Yes, I still play CDs. Kendra. Okay. I like to clean my house to the Gypsy Kings because it revs me up. Know what your power song is. And if it's not a song, know what it is that gives you that umph in life. Because when we vibrate from a higher vibration, when we are open to that connection to God, when we are getting high on the Holy Spirit or whatever you want to call it, in those moments, we are able, if we choose, we are able to detect that we are living in a universe that wants to interact with us. Oh, imagine that. We are living in a universe that desires to interact with us. We are the hands of God. We are the heart of God. Love can only be expressed on this planet through humanity. And so when we appreciate that, when we see it, then it makes a difference in a huge way, because the vibration, it's a vast, interconnected universe, and the vibration doesn't stop with you, it moves on, whether it's a good one or a bad one. Carl Sagan said, everything amazing about the universe is inside of you and the universe, the two of you, are inseparable. You already have everything you need right within you, all the intelligence that keeps your body functioning or restores your well-being when that healthy functioning has been disrupted. There's an intelligence that's always active in all of life. So yes, we have been talking all month about finding the recipe and cooking up some goodness to have some sweetness in your life, and measuring and mixing and creating an intentional life. We have been aiming all month to remind you that the universe conspires to bless you. And I'm going to take that a step further today, and I'm going to say, not only do I want you to look for your power song, but I want you to spend some time this week looking for that way God's winking at you, or the way that God is giving you a nod or a thumbs up. Remember Carol Burnett, The Comedy Hour? Raise your hand if you know who Carol Burnett is. Yeah. I just do that because it makes me laugh. Just imagine people won't know who Carol Burnett is one day. Carol Burnett always tugged on her ear. At the end of the night, when she was doing her sign-off, and saying goodnight, everybody, she'd tug on her earlobe, and it was a little secret message that became public knowledge over time. It was an I love you to her grandmother who raised her. And as I was thinking about that, it's such a sweet idea, right? Oh, as I was thinking about that, I thought, I wonder how many times we bump into God pulling an earlobe, giving us the little I love you sign, and we just don't notice. What if we imagined that spirit, that this divine creator of all of life, what if we imagined by way of nature was constantly winking and nodding and earlobe pulling, right? If the universe indeed is one vast system that is fully alive and interacting with us, then I would say to you, don't rule out any possibility of the way God is trying to connect with you in a very personal way, right? You know, you hear that bird singing outside, or you see a bird that you haven't seen in your yard in a while. You take a walk through your neighborhood and you notice that this beautiful butterfly just flits by you. You see the shape of a tree, an ordinary tree that you see every day, but suddenly you notice something different about it. Those are nods. Those are ways. We are, I just always have that idea. It's like God's, woohoo, over here, look at this. Can we notice those things? Can we look up once in a while and see, look for the Milky Way? We're a part of something so magnificent. Or maybe even a quality moment with a friend or a loved one. I think we might think of these things as love notes from the universe, just waiting for us to find them, or a message in a bottle. Because when we are receptive to the beauty of nature, when the natural world excites us, we are instantly lifted above our problems. And so that tells me that this weather that we're having lately, oh my goodness, what a fabulous opportunity to open that front door. I've got a good secure screen on the front. I'm going to open that front door when the southern light of the sunshine is coming in to warm up my house. I want to hear the life that's happening outside of the walls of my home, because when we live enclosed in our home, which we do in the desert a lot, and then to make matters more complicated, we have garages with automatic doors that don't apparently have to squeak all the time. I didn't know that. I just learned that this week. A little attention goes a long way. That we open our garage door, park our car, close it. We don't even talk to our neighbors sometimes. Well, it's a shame. Let's see that there's life out there. Let's put a chair on your porch or sit on your patio, even if it's just a little step. Get outside or listen to the noises that are happening in the world around you, because this is a way we can get excited about the natural world and not the realm of handmade structures in which we lock our little lives. There is a secret ingredient, yeast is a great secret ingredient that when you put it in that flour and mix those ingredients and you leave it in a place and cover it, it makes dough rise, right? It gets bigger. So there is a secret ingredient that makes life rise and expand, and I've been talking about it all month. It has to do with being thankful. It has to do with our willingness to notice this miraculous way life is always functioning around us, no matter what kind of conflict is going on in the world. It has to do with giving to God, to nature, giving our attention so that we're focusing on these beautiful, miraculous gifts. When I gaze at this giving tree, it makes me grateful for you. It makes me grateful to know there's an audience from home that appreciates us. It makes me value community, and it gives me another blessing of knowing how wonderful it is to belong somewhere. Robert Holden, who is said to be a happiness expert, I didn't look it up. He's either involved in all those studies or he wrote a book or something. But Robert Holden, the happiness expert, said this: the miracle of gratitude is that it shifts your perception to such an extent that it changes the world you see. Man, I believe that. With every fiber of my being, I really believe that the gift of gratitude is that it changes the world that I am looking at. I don't see what's broken or what needs rearranging when I'm in pure gratitude, when I just have my heart open and flowing. And so I wanted to end this morning with a lovely story that I stumbled on in a book written by Pam Grout. Perhaps you remember Pam Grout. She did E Squared and other books, Cubed, I think. And she's a fun author. She's a little bit naughty, but lively. And Pam Grout wrote a book that I had not heard of before called Thank and Be Rich. Isn't that a good play on words? Thank and be rich. And so it's a lot about gratitude. But she shares in that book this story. There was a gentleman named Scott Harrison, and he was in the United States Marine Corps. Were you a Marine? I think I forget that from time to time. And he did a tour in Vietnam, and he was injured. A grenade destroyed one of his legs, and he was then airlifted off the battlefield and eventually brought back to the United States. But you may recall that at that time period when soldiers came back from war, they were not greeted with gratitude or appreciation. And so he shared this experience of what it was like to be treated so badly and people mocking him and looking down and calling him names. And eventually, like so often happens, his wounds were no longer just the damage to his leg, but he was emotionally done in. And so he turned to drugs and alcohol. He isolated himself. He didn't want to be around other people anymore. His life was basically miserable. At some point, he moved to San Jose, California, and he took a job at a shipyard. And he could work hard, and he could make good money, and he could also take a lot of time off. And so because he did not want to mingle with other people, he stayed pretty much to himself, but he took on this project that he was very passionate about, and he built himself a boat. In fact, he made a schooner. I looked it up. A schooner is a sailboat that has more than one or two masts. It has at least 2 or 3 masts. So it's a big boat. And when he could, he would take it out on the water. And he loved being alone. And he would go way out in the Pacific for days at a time. And one day, he was feeling especially hopeless. He was very disheartened. He had been 8 days at sea. He hadn't seen land in a while. And he was sobbing with grief. And his hope was that a big storm would come and capsize his boat and that he could be put out of his misery because he didn't want to suffer anymore. And then a 30-foot whale gently surfaces right next to his schooner. And he wrote that the whale looked at him. Now, I'm thinking he could only see one eye, right? The other eye had to be over there somewhere. He said that the whale looked him straight in the eye and stared at him. And the whale swam beside him for what he guessed to be 3 or 4 hours. The whale stayed with him. And then he summed it up this way later when he wrote about it. He said, "For reasons I cannot explain, that whale made me feel loved in a way I had never been loved before." Most of us will not meet a whale in such a situation. Lots of us would like that. Some of us would be frightened by it. It's an unusual encounter with nature, and it's unusual circumstance to be alone at sea. But Scott Harrison bumped into God. Pam Grout then said these words after telling that story. "The problem has never been reluctance on the part of the universe. The problem is our inability to see the beautiful, loving truth that the universe continually offers to us." Right? Yes, thank you for feeling that with me. The gifts are abundant. So make sure you get outside this week. Make sure you take a moment to open yourself and wait for a nod from God, or that sense of pulling on an earlobe or a wink. The way God will do something to get your attention. Get out of your house. Look for good in other people, because I promise you, if you make an intention to uncover something good in another human being, you will find it. It's not even hard. And when we uncover it and we see it, we don't even have to say it out loud. It is the energetic vibration of seeing it that then calls that quality forward, so that person is then able to express it at an even higher level. That's the way we help each other. So the gifts of the bounty are yours. They belong to all of us. It's been a great month. I thank you for all your participation. And that's really what I wanted to say today. Wink, wink. Every moment of our lives has brought us to this moment. And there is more. So I feel more. I feel and sense that expansion that happens with these powerful words of prayer. I feel the love of God in this room, and I know that it transmutes out in every direction. I know that every listener can feel and sense the presence of that love right where they are. How good it is to know that there is no place where God is not. That boundaries are nothing. Because Spirit itself is without limit. And that divine energy that keeps all life thriving on this planet is given and flows in this inexhaustible supply. So we know who our source is. I feel that love of God within me. And I know that this is the vastness of life. This is the vastness of the universe. This is the goodness of the Creator. the infinite wisdom of all the universe, and it's packaged in such a way that each of us is allowed to be a divine expression on this planet. I am so grateful that some of us use that divinity and that goodness in a positive way, that some of us are willing to walk through our fears and our struggles, but to know that God is winking, that there are nods, that there is this conviction of the way the universe is held together by the glue that is the divine energy of all of life. I feel that love, and I understand in this great clarity that it is the healing essence of life being called forward. Even as we speak these words of prayer, we are calling forward a deeper truth, the truth about the perfection that is at the center of every atom, every molecule of life. And that things like illness and financial problems these things are just ways that we are being called to a higher perspective, called to a new way of being, called to an energetic vibration that will allow us to love in a grander way than we have ever loved before. And so even as it seems that this planet is calling for that love, is inviting each of us to take time every day for peace, to breathe, to pause, to pray, and to affirm that God's good is here and it is ours for the taking. For the bounty is great. The goodness of life is pressed down and overflowing in every direction, and we simply take a stand to where we can see that goodness, where we can understand that greatness of all life, where we can be a significant player in this gorgeous universe that is always evolving. So I have a sense of excited anticipation for all the goodness that is emerging on the planet even now. We can trust the process, for there is an eternality about life that is absolutely certain. And it's so good for us to pause and remember these truths. And so I know that as we open ourselves, we open our hearts, we open our minds, that we get that wisdom in our bodies flowing, and that there is a healing happening. There is a healing going on right now. And that healing is contagious. So if there are any loved ones in our lives that we have concerns about, we know that intelligence in their bodies awakens as well. That our relationships are blessed by this movement of love that we insist on again and again. That our finances are blessed, that the well-being of this spiritual community is blessed so that we can be a blessing into the future. And so I am grateful. I am grateful, so grateful to know this is how the divine law functions in this universe and in our lives. So I say thank you, God. Thank you, life. Thank you, infinite spirit. I release these words into that divine law, knowing it is already done. And so it is. Amen.
Simple things, the joy and peace that gratitude brings. That's why I'm grateful, grateful, grateful for all the love that I have. I am so grateful, grateful,
right. Thank you, Bradford. We are grateful. And so we have extra cookies. So if you want to take some extra cookies home, you can. And I want everybody to know that John ate his cookie back there. I want to let everybody know. All right. So now's the time to celebrate the abundance of our lives and the abundance of our community. I want to remind you that we're not having fellowship after service. We're having the sale, so if you want to go over for the sale. And so we are not passing around the offering plate. We have drop boxes in the back of the room as well as in Pappy Hall. And so we love and appreciate all your contributions. So let's say our giving affirmation together. I live in a consciousness of good. Divine love blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God, and so it is.
Please rise for our last song. Oh, it feels so good to be alive. Oh, it feels so good to be alive. I ain't thinking about my problems. I'm living now. I'm living now. And I ain't gonna worry about the future. I'm living now. I'm living now. So put your hands up if you feel like having a good time. Put your hands up if you're sharing love with all. Raise your cup if you're hopeful for tomorrow. Put your hands up if you're ready to have some fun. And sing it. Oh, it feels so good to be alive. Oh, it feels so good to be alive. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life, live in the moment. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life, live in the moment. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life, live in the moment. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life, live. Oh, it feels so good to be alive. Oh, it feels so good to be alive. One more time. Oh, it feels so good to be alive.
Just want to wish you guys happy Thanksgiving again to you and your family. So let's say our closing affirmation. Repeat after me. I give thanks for my life. And Savior, all my goodness.
And Savior, all my goodness.
And so it is.